Okay, this is Lab 3. This one we want you to do a lot of it on your own. So I'll show you some of the basic ideas and basic steps, but really we expect you to read the basic instructions because they're pretty straightforward, and sort a lot of the stuff out on your own. So you need to do some thinking on this one. This lab is about using some great Excel functions like things that calculate your mean and your standard deviation, stuff like that, and z-scores. So there's some really good tools that Excel has. So first of all, if you look on page 2 of Lab 3, there's a whole bunch of, under additional information, there's a whole bunch of really useful formulas, or not formulas, functions. Things like mode, standard deviation, variance. There's different, if you want to calculate a z-score, it tells you what to do and how to do it. Or if you want the pth percentile, it gives you the command or the function in order to do that. So use those. Where it says, it'll say something like mode. Here, I'll show you what it says. If you want the mode, it'll type in something like this. It'll say mode dot SNGL parentheses array. And what we really want you to do is, in this parentheses, we want you to put in what the array is. So you'd put in something like, instead of putting that in, first of all, you'd start off with an equal sign. So go over here to the beginning and put in equal sign, because the formula always has to start with an equal sign. But then get inside these little parentheses over here, and you need to grab a section and put it in there, and then hit enter, and then that will give you a mode. And interestingly enough, you'll see NA for not applicable, and you can kind of figure out maybe why that might be, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. First off, go ahead and look at the data on page 3 of Lab 3, and it says, type in your name in the upper corner, and then chapter 3, and the data preparation. Don't put data preparation, put today's date. So that would be, whatever the date is. Just pick a date. And then it has these boxes for initial data. And then initial data. Data plus 2. And what they've done here is, when you get it like this, go ahead and just highlight this row here. Well, first of all, let's make it bigger. So go over here to where you get that, not the arrow, but that kind of black bar with the arrows going up and down, and then left click and hold that down and drag it bigger. Then go ahead and, when you see this little black arrow, the white, not the white cross, but the black arrow where the border is and where the 4 is, if you right click there, you can actually left click there, and then go over here to alignment, up to wrap text, and hit wrap text, and then it'll wrap it. See how that wrapped it? If you let me go over, I can highlight this for you. If you look at this section over here, it should be darker. If you look at this section over here, it will it's changed that. So if I unwrap the text, so look there, I'm going to go back to the mouse, and if I hit this wrap text up here, that initial data will stop wrapping and it'll go back to being kind of cut off over here. So hit wrap text and that goes in nicely, and then just keep typing in the next stuff. Initial data plus a minus 2, and then initial data times 2, and initial data divided by 2. Okay, And then over here we have statistic. I guess I should type those in now. You want to make F smaller, so get that little black line with the two arrows going left and right, and make that smaller. Make G bigger, and type in all caps statistic. And I'm just going to type in the data. I'm going to pause this for a little while I just type in the data, because you can just type in the titles across there as they are. And then down here below, I'm going to type in the numbers, you know, as it shows on the page as well. Okay, so now we've got the data typed in. This one was a little bit interesting because you just have to type in z-score of on the first line, and let's go down the second line and put in a bunch of spaces and then type in 10th smallest value. But then they want some dark lines. So let's put some of those in. We want a dark line down here. So kind of on the, well, let's go to put our data in first. So our data, they want us to go from 1 to 25 or 50 to 100. Let's see. They want us to go from 1 through 50. Okay, so 1, 2. Here's the thing. If I grab this and I just drag it down, it should probably go, oh no, it won't. Interesting. 2. Okay. I'm going to grab 1 and 2. I just left clicked on 1 and then drug it down to 2 and then released it. Now, if I start off and get this black X here, I should be able to drag that down, and then hopefully I can get, yeah, it drags it down so we get all the numbers we want. We don't need 50 and 52, so I'll just delete that and then go click on that one and delete that as well. Okay, great. So let's do a little bit of formatting while we're here, and I'm going to format along here. I'm going to highlight this section here because along the right we want a bold left line. So if you go to this spot here where you can kind of see some borders going on, just click on that little arrow down and it'll say thick bottom border, and now I want right border, and I want a thick right border, right? So let's go to more borders, and let's pick a thick one like that one, right? And let's go with the right side, so just right there. See how that gives us a right one? If I click on that again, it'll go away. So this box kind of tells you what's going on. If you click on that one, you'll see a right border. If I wanted a middle border, I could click on that, or not. Maybe not. I guess it just lets me do one. If I did the outline, I would do that. But I don't want the outline. I just want, oops. I just want, see, now I have to unclick all of these, the bottom, to get rid of that. Because you can see them here. I want to get rid of the top. I'll click on that to get rid of the top. And so now I just have the right border here. And if I hit OK, that should put one in. So you can't see it, but if I click somewhere else over here, now you see this big thick border has popped in. I also want a big thick border right through here, so I'm just going to highlight this part here, and then I'm going to go to that underline, this arrow, drop arrow down, and there's a thick top and bottom. I don't want top and bottom, I just want bottom, thick bottom border right there. So click on that one, and if you click somewhere else, you'll see that thick bottom border has come in right here. Okay, great. So that looks good. They kind of also seem like they want this section shaded. So I'm just going to highlight this whole section, left click and drag it down, and then we'll go to I think it's actually you can probably go to font. See how it says fill color? That colors if you look at the little comment here, it says fill color, color the background of selected cells. We want to color the background. So let's just make it, we can make it like a light, very light blue. That seems good. That'll show up as gray. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh dear, I still want my numbers. Let's pick a different color, because that one seems like it overwrote my little gray lines, and I want to see those still. So what if we pick light purple? Oh, all of it. It overwrites all of it. Okay, it looks like it did kind of overwrite all of it. So let's actually go ahead and do no fill for now, and then we'll fill it in later. That way we can still see our lines for now, and we'll color that at the end. Okay, and then we also want dark lines here on the right. So click on that. It's going to be more borders, and I want on the right side thick line on the right. Hit OK, and then we want a dark line from here down to there on the left and the right. So that's easier, because if I hit this I can go actually there's one for that. Okay, so thick border again, and we want left and right. So left and the right, and then we want one over here on the right border, thick on the right, and then we want one kind of underlining these right through here. So here we'll just hit thick bottom border, and that looks good. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at what we're looking at. Here, this is our initial data. This is our initial data plus 2. So you have to think about how what I want is, I want this whole column over here to be whatever number is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 2. So I want, I'm going to want, in here, I'm going to want a 3, right? Because, whoops. So I can drag that over. I'm going to want a 3 right there, because that's 1 plus 2, right? I'm going to want a 4 here. I'm going to want a 5 here. I'm going to want, let's see, 1 minus 2. I'm going to want a negative 1 right here. I'm going to want a 0 right there. So, obviously if you type it in, you're going to be in trouble. We want formulas for that. So how would I write a formula? First of all, a formula, you're going to start off with an equal sign, right? Always. And you have to think of this data. So click on that thing, and you want it to be 2 more. So how would you do 2 more than that data? If I just hit enter now, it would just give me the same data, right? If I drag that down, it would just give me everything that's just the same as that. But we don't want everything the same as that. What we want, hit the undo so that it goes away, undo again so that goes away. What we want is everything in this column plus 2. So you need to figure out how to do that. Same thing here. You'd hit equals, and you click on something over in this cell over here, and you want that to be less, whatever this is, minus 2. And then over here you want, don't forget your equal sign for the formula, you want whatever's over here multiplied by 2 or divided by 2. So I'm going to let you figure out how to do that. But once you get one of them correct, you should just be able to drag down and get the rest of them to go. All right, once you do that, that's the first part. And you need to think about that and just, use some common sense and think about what these formulas do, what they mean. If I wanted this cell here times 3, I would go equals over here. If I want to put it right here, I'd do equals, and I'd click on that, and I hit the times symbol, and I'd put times 7 if I wanted times 7. And if I wanted times 7 plus 1, it would take that number 3 multiplied by 7, which would give me 21, plus 1 would be 22. And that's what it does. So think about that and figure out how that works. The next part is finding all of this stuff over here, this initial data. So what you want to do is think about, okay, mean. I want the mean. So I want the mean of initial data, so I want the mean of this whole section right here. This is my section I want. That's my array that I want. So what I'll do is, you know, if it were, for example, if I wanted sum of something, I'll create a new one down here, sum. Then what I would do is I would go over in this spot here and I would say, okay, I want a formula, so I'm going to hit equals and I'm going to type in sum, and that actually pops it up for me, sum. Click on that, and then it's going to prompt me for all the numbers or the array. And what do I want to sum? This stuff over here. So I'm going to left click on this, hold it down, and drag down the whole thing. And then when I'm done, I'm going to let go of everything. Go back up to where we were, and you'll see it's popped in there. So then I'm just going to hit close with the right bracket and enter, and that's the sum of 1 through 50 right there. But I don't want the sum, so I'm just going to undo that. Oops. Click off of it, and I'm going to undo and undo. And that stuff will go away. So you have to figure out, you want the mean, so you're going to have a formula equals something. I don't know what computes the mean. However, it's not going to be mean, incidentally. Actually, to compute the mean, there's actually a different command. And what you might want to look at is flipping over to this. Is it not there? They didn't give you the mean? Okay, they didn't tell you the mean, which is kind of mean. So I will tell you the mean is actually average. So I would type in average, and you'll look at it right there. It pops up. You can just click on it if you want, double click on it, and it'll pop in there. And then you're going to put in the array of what you want. So left click and grab this whole section, hit enter, and I think it'll just pop right in, and it did. The median is pretty straightforward. I believe the median is just the median, so we'll try that. Equals median. Yeah, so that's okay. Mode, we give you the mode. You just gotta look in that page. Standard deviation, also on that page. Variance, also on that page. So all these commands are on page 2 of your lab. You just have to look for it. Maximum, minimum, range. Range, there isn't a standalone range, Excel range function. What you have to do is figure out your own, because you know range is your maximum minus your minimum, and you can use these two cells here and figure out how to do, you know, into here you're going to put equals something, something minus something, and figure out what those should be, and they should, you know, obviously involve these cells. Third largest value. Okay, so third largest would be, you'd use the command kth largest. So kth largest, if you type in equals large, then click on that. That's what you want, and that's going to say give me the array and tell me which one you want. Do you want the third one? Then put a 3. If you want the fourth one, you'd put a 4. So if I wanted the 10th largest out of this section, 10th largest should be 10th largest should be 41. So I'm going to hit that array, and I'm going to hit comma, and I want the 10th largest. Yeah, 10th largest. So that should be 41. I'm going to put the 10 because I want the 10th largest, and that does give me 41. If you want the, but you don't want the 10th largest, you want something else. So figure that out. Z-score, aha. To calculate the Z-score, it says a predefined Excel function standardize does exist, but here we'll want to use the basic function, which is the cell with value of interest, which means minus the cell with the mean. So what you want is the 10th smallest value. So figure out what the 10th smallest value is, and that would just be, you can just count up from the bottom if you want. This is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. So this one, or if you're dealing with other arrays with the, you know, with this stuff over here, then it'd still be this row you're looking at. Those are all the 10th largest for their different groups. You know, this one's gonna be the 10th largest of this group. This is gonna be the 10th largest of this group. And remember how we find the Z-score? It's equals, and then don't forget the numerator has invisible parentheses around it, so parentheses your x value, so figure out what your x value is. So your x value, whatever that is, maybe it's, if it was this spot here, I'd click on, say it was this spot here, for example. I'd click on that, and I'd say minus my mean. Oh, that is my mean. So then I click on my mean, and then I close that. So if I want to know the z-score at the mean, I'd pick, my mean minus my mean divided by, and then I want my standard deviation, so I divide by my standard deviation, which is here, which is nothing, so it's going to give me a total error right now, but that's okay. But we all know that your z-score, you take whatever your x value is, subtract your mean, divide, and make sure you put parentheses around that because that's the numerator, and divide by your standard deviation. And that'll tell you how many standard deviations that number is away from the mean. And that's an error, but if I put in 5 here, then all of a sudden the mean, not surprisingly, is 0 standard deviations away from the mean. So you can see the 0 there. So that's how you find that one. Let's see, 50th percentile. There, if you look, there's a command that says the pth percentile. So if you get the 50th, then instead of p, you'd put in 50 when it gets to the of what it tells you to put in. If you turn to that page, it tells you exactly what you should put in. Equals percentile dot exc, and then parentheses, put in your array, which is basically is grabbing the number and dragging, grabbing the number and dragging down, comma, p divided by 100, whatever you want. So if you want the 10th percentile, 10 divided by 100. And just you really got to be looking at page 2, the end of page 2, where it says additional information, because that's where all this golden gems of knowledge lies. So they also want you to find the 95th percentile, so that'd be another one. And then quartiles. Quartiles, they have the nth quartile. So nth would be the could be 1 for the first for the first quartile, 2 for the second quartile, which is also your median, or 3 for your third quartile. And then count just counts the number of values you have. So that would just, you'd find the command for that, which is also listed, and then you select your array and put that in there. So you guys should be able to sort that out as well. I'm just gonna select all this and delete it so that's nice and clean. And then these should just follow exactly from there. So you should be able just to drag these over, and those should pick up just fine, because whatever one you pick here, if I said equals just this data spot here, it'd grab that one. And if, say, we wanted 3 over there, and we wanted, I don't know, -1 over there, and here we wanted 2. So you can't just type in 2 here, because you'll get totally no credit for that. But I'll just put those in. If I wanted the same thing with the rest of these guys, I would just get in that spot, drag it over, and it will grab all the correct amounts and just pull them over nicely. So go ahead and once you get this first column set, you should be able to just drag over and pick up the rest of them. Can you undo that? Undo those. What else? So after you've done that, there's something over here you can do called descriptive. You want descriptive statistics for initial data. And just click over here into N somewhere, and maybe make M a little bit smaller, and then click into N, and it says to use Excel's analysis tool pack. So remember, if you haven't gotten, you have to go to File, Options, Add-ins, and then Excel Add-ins, go and make sure this one is checked, because if you're using a computer at school, those are often cleared every night. Then if you go to Data, you should be able to find the Data Analysis Tool Pack over here. Click on that, and hopefully there's something called, we want something called Descriptive Statistics. So, oh, look it, there it is. Click on that, and it's going to say give me input range, and I want, I just want the initial data. So I'm going to grab my initial data, which is, I'm going to left click on the first one, drag it down to the end, and then it says output range. So won't let me click on that. Oh, output range. Click on output range, and then it'll let you find your spot wherever you want to go, which I think you can just click where you want to put it, which would be, I want to put it right, move that over right here, and that should be good. And I think that's, oh, and then select summary statistics. So click on that one. That's what you want. And also the kth largest, and specify 3 here, and kth smallest, and specify 3 there. Oops, 3. Put in 3. I didn't put in 3. And that should be good. And then if you hit OK, it should magically appear. And it does, except for, oh right. So the mode is not applicable. So tell me why. Well, that'll be one of the questions we talk about later. If you kind of look at the questions that you have to answer, they are things like, what's the ratio between the median, the 50th percentile, and the second quartile? And you should all know that already from class. Median, 50th percentile, and second quartile. Kind of what data value should represent, or is represented by those things, or how are those different from each other, or are they different from each other, and which ones are different, which ones are the same. Second question is, how many standard deviations occur between the mean and the 10th smallest data value? So, in other words, how many standard deviations is the 10th smallest data value away from the mean? And you might want to use some information you've seen already to find how many standard deviations something is from the mean. You may have already computed that, so think about that. And then also, why do the entries from mode have NA in the answer? So, here it says NA, not applicable. Here's my data. Why is the mode not applicable for this data set? So that's something you should definitely think about as well. And then if I change a single value in the data from 40 to 400, what would change? And just try that. If I change this number here, this 40 to 400, so a bunch of things are going to change, right? I mean, by changing that, my mean for that day is going to change. Well, if the median may not change, the mode may not change, but standard deviation will probably change, variance will change, so stuff will change. Maybe the maximum or minimum might change, so a bunch of things will change here. Not only that, but what else uses this data? This whole row here is computed off of this initial number here. So if this number changes, all these ought to change as well. So you should take a look at that and figure out, well, if those change, then what over here changes as well, and kind of think about that. So I should have a big old list of things that change from you, and you can try to condense it any way you like. Just say like initial data, +1, -2, ×2, and divided by 2 for these values change, and stuff like that. Okay. Now, type those up somewhere or write those down, and your report's going to be this first spreadsheet here, which will have numbers in it, and so print that. You're going to want to print that, and then you're going to want to create a second sheet. So remember how we did that? I think we go here. Oh, actually, yep. We go here, left click on it, and then we right click and do copy, and then we go to sheet 2, and we left click up here, and then we hit right click and we hit paste, and this is the first initial paste, and that pastes everything in. And then if we want, we've got the whole thing highlighted, which is great. We want formulas. All the formulas show. So if we go to formulas here, and we go to show formulas, and we've highlighted everything. If you only highlight a few things, it's only going to show the formulas for those. So highlight everything, hit show formulas, and all the formulas that occur should show up. And I don't know why these guys didn't show any formulas. They should have formulas in them. Oh, I guess they don't have formulas in them. But if I were to have typed a formula in here, like say this is equals average of this stuff over here, just those even, then my formula is going to show up. And it won't be a number, it'll actually show me the actual formula. And then, you know, afterwards, anything doesn't have formulas, if you can just kind of shrink down these columns, because if you don't shrink them down, they're gonna just not print. The printing is gonna be all whack. So shrink that down. And here's a trick. If I want to shrink down a bunch of columns, I can just highlight all of them and shrink them together, and they'll both shrink equally. This one I want to be kind of different. But like all these will have formulas in them, so you want to leave those alone. But this over here doesn't have any formulas in it, so I could shrink that one. Let me move that over. I could shrink this one. That's all right. Okay. So let's talk about the printing part. So first of all, if you guys remember, we want, I don't think I need that. We want page layout. We want to put some headers and stuff in there, right? So if we go to page setup, oh wait, I think we have headers over here somewhere. Oh, remember when to print our grid lines? I want to print our headings, so make sure you click on those. Does that apply to both sheets? No, we got to click it over here to print our those things over there too. Sheet options, yep. And then we want page setup, and we want the header footer, and it's the footer we want to stick all the stuff into. So remember, we want the custom footer. Always we want to put left section. You want to put the date, which is one of these guys here. I think it's this one. Here you want to put your name, and then over here you're going to want to put the file name, which is this one right here, and then hit OK, and then it'll automatically pop those things in there. And don't forget, you want to save it first, so you don't have book 1. So make sure you do File, Save As, and then just save it whatever you want to save it as. You know, Lab 3, and then now up here the name has changed to Lab 3. And when you go to print it, we don't want to print the whole thing. We don't want active sheets. We want to print selection. So this is all we have highlighted right now, so that's all it's going to print. That's not the section we want. What section we want? We want only the current selection. So if we go to home and we click on it, said the first 25 rows. So I'm going to start here where I get this black arrow, and I'm going to left click and drag down to the first 25 rows. That's it right there. Then I'm going to say print, and I'm going to say I want just the selection, only print the current selection. Great. And it's not doing anything. That's not good. What's wrong with that? Let's try this. Let's go ahead and start at the 25th row, and it's 26, and then just drag all the way over to everything you need, which is up to this column, and then all the way up to the top, and then go to File, Print, and then now when you hit Print Selection, it pops right in here, and you can actually see it prints on page 1 and 2. I don't like that, so I'm going to try hitting, if I do portrait orientation and switch it to landscape, then now it all prints. No, it doesn't. It still prints on 2 pages. Man. Okay, I don't want it on 2 pages. So I'm going to go in there and shrink some stuff. Go back to home, make some of these columns smaller, like this one can be, well, not that much smaller. This one can be a little bit smaller. This one can be a little bit smaller. This could definitely be a bit smaller. Oops. I'm going to hit, if I hit, unwrap the text. No. Oh, maybe I go here and I hit delete. That will work, maybe. Nope. Alright, I'll leave it a little bit bigger. Maybe this one I can shrink up a little bit. I'm going to highlight these ones and shrink them all a little bit. And this little dotted line tells me exactly where I stand in terms of being on one page. So I'll make that smaller. Almost there. Let's see, let's cut out a little bit of this stuff here. I'm okay with that. And I'm going to make this, if I go up in this box here, remember I can edit right in there, so I'm just going to delete a few of those out and see how that works. I just hit enter to put that in. Getting closer. Make this a little bit smaller. Make this a little bit smaller maybe? Yeah, darn. This has got to be smaller. What can I do? Oh, there we go. Now we all fit. Oh, or margins. That's another thing too. You can go to page layout and go to margins and pick narrow, and that makes things better. So I can make this a little bigger. That can be bigger. Maybe not that much bigger. This can be bigger. Alright, and then we're still in good shape, and this could probably be bigger. Might still be alright. So, oh, no, we lost it. Alright, I'll make this a little bit smaller. This a little bit smaller. Okay, so now, see the dotted line, it all fits on one page. So you go to, let's select our area again. So start off here, left click there and drag it over. We went down to page, column 25. So that's, you know, a row 25. I want to grab all the columns we need and then go to File, Print Selection, and you'll see it's all there and it's all on one page. You can tell down here it's just one of one, so that's great. So go to print that. I won't because I don't need to, but that's okay. And then after that, go to page 2. And again, we only need the first 25. We only need the first 25. Oh, that's weird. That formatted that as a number. Weird. I'm gonna click on this. I'm gonna make that a date. So up here, it should show as a date. I don't know why it didn't. Short date. We'll do that. Huh. I'm gonna try typing it in again. See, and it says right here. I don't understand why it it's just weird. Copy. Paste. Strange. 9:15:15. What if I type it in again? Wow. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm over it. Almost. Bothers me. Really bothers me. Date. Yeah. What if I make it a different kind of date, like this one? And I do 15 September 15. Wow. I don't know what's going on with that. So don't worry about it. Alright, so now we've got these lines here. It looks like this is all in portrait format and not the other one, but this is the one I've done my formulas for, right? Page 2. So there should be formulas showing up like this one. So make everything smaller that you can, and things you can't make smaller, don't worry about it. This part over here, you can actually not even worry about it since there are no formulas over here. You can just ignore this section. Don't print it. And I'm going to grab everything I want from A1 down to row 25, and then over. And I just need to here to go to here because the stuff over here those are all not formulas, so don't worry about them. And then I'm going to File, Print, and I just want the selection again, which is good. And I kind of want to make this landscape, so I'm going to go to here, landscape, so that maybe more will fit on there. And still not all of it does, but if I go page 1, page 2, a fair amount of it does. And I think he said to scale it using one page wide by one page tall. Fit to one page wide by one page tall. So what I just did was I went to this no scaling, I clicked on that and I picked custom scaling options and then fit to one page wide by one page tall, and I hit OK there. And then it just shrinks it all down so it all fits in there, and that's beautiful. So now we're in great shape, and you should go ahead, you'll see one of one down here, and you should print that. Oops. And let me take a look at the print again. And it should have printed my headers and footers. I don't know why it didn't. That's kind of strange. Oh, because it was a section, maybe. Yeah, that's kind of odd. So they may not actually print your header and footer on there because you are only printing a selection and not the whole page. That's a possibility. You'll have to kind of see what happens. And if it doesn't, then make sure you kind of comment on that, like write that in and tell them what happened, so that you don't get marked off for that. All right, I think that's it. So you just need that first page with the numbers, and then this page here with all the formulas. These should all have formulas in them over here. And then the third page answering those questions that we talked about. And don't forget to use those, all these great formulas that they gave you on page 2 of your lab manual. Okay, good luck.